Hi YouTubers! So I love using cloth diapers, but it didn't come without learning some lessons. So these are my 5 top lessons I learned from cloth diapering. So the first one is about buying cloth diapers. And the first lesson I learned about buying cloth diapers is that the flat system really worked for me. And if you want to know why I love flats, feel free to check out my other video. The second lesson I learned is about how much to buy. I spent a lot of time wondering how many flats I would need, how many covers, etc., etc. And while I found some pretty good guidelines on the internet or on websites, at the end of the day, right now, I do have enough flats to get me through, but it's not 3 days worth. So one thing you want to remember is you probably only want to buy 1 load of laundry worth of whatever diaper system you choose. Because if you start getting behind on those loads of diapering, I think you're just going to find it, or for me anyway, I found it would be too overwhelming. So while it's a good idea to have a few extra diapers for the diaper bag, that type of thing, it's probably also a good idea just to keep it down to 1 load. And if you're wondering kind of what a load should look like, is you might want to buy your wet bag ahead of time and just start putting things into it. And keep in mind, you might want, if you use a change pad, you might be wanting to put that into your cloth diaper laundry load as well. The last lesson I learned from buying, well, not the last lesson, but the one I'm going to tell you about, is because I chose flats and it is a 2-in-1 system, I did learn that all covers are not created equal. So when I was researching pocket diapers, some of the manufacturers kind of gave the impression that, you know, if baby wet the diaper, that I would be able to just take out this insert and put a new one in and be able to reuse the cover. However, my baby was always too much of a heavy wetter to ever be able to do that. I always found that this fleece was always wet and the whole thing would need to be laundered. So I would actually need more covers than this, as opposed to, this is a blueberry diaper. So as long as this diaper is clean, you can always wipe down urine, but as long as it's clean, it can be reused. And then, of course, once it's dirty, it just goes in the wash. So that means for a 2-in-1, I can use this multiple times, which means ultimately I would need less covers. Now, the one that really threw me for a loop is the Grovia, because that's sold as part of a 2-in-1 system. It's sold with pre-folds, and this does not have a wipeable inside. So again, if the spills go outside of the insert, then the whole thing needs to go in the wash. And speaking of washing, that's where my second lessons come from. So all your cloth diapers will come with laundry instructions. However, these 3 different cloth diapers all have different instructions for the laundry, mostly just on temperature. And the reason for that is, from the manufacturer's perspective, this is the best way that you're going to get your diaper clean and protect your diaper for this particular way that the diaper is manufactured. Now, what I learned is, while it may be the ideal way to wash your diapers, you really don't have to do separate cycles just because the manufacturer recommends them. So some general rules of thumb is that you just don't want it to be hotter than what it recommends. So none of my diapers suggested a cold only wash. They usually recommended warm. So all my diapers go on a pre-wash warm, wash warm, and a cold rinse. Now, cloth diapers are a little bit trickier than the rest of your laundry because they're going to be a little bit dirtier than the rest of your laundry, so you do want to get them clean and you want to keep them absorbent. So some tips on keeping them clean is with those cycles, making sure you do that pre-wash and extra rinse. The other thing is increasing the water level in your washer, especially if you have an HE machine, as well as not putting too many diapers in the load. Now, as far as keeping them absorbent, you want to avoid fabric softeners. You also want to avoid soap, like cast-iron soap or Eco Nuts, because that might not come out of your fabric as easily, especially if you use hard water or if you're using a cold rinse. What you do want to use is detergents, and you want to make sure those detergents don't have fabric softeners in them, any bleaches, or any brighteners, because that can harm your fabrics. So although I've gone a little off label with my washing routine, and keep in mind, I'm not looking to sell my stuff on Kijiji after, or as well as I realize this might void my manufacturer's instructions, but the cycle that works really well for me is I pre-wash. This is Bunch of Farmers laundry detergent. I pre-wash with that on warm. Nellies on regular wash warm, and then I do a cold rinse to make sure I get any detergent out that's been left over, because again, leftover detergent means a less absorbent diaper. Now, if there's something that I really care about, I will pre-treat it with this stain remover, also made by Bunch of Farmers. It works really well. And although I've been fortunate, I've been managed to keep my things absorbent, but if worst case scenario, something happens that affects the absorbency of the diapers, you can always get them stripped. Now, one last thing on doing laundry in all one load, the one thing that is kind of a no-no is if you have a natural fiber like a cotton or a bamboo and they recommend a pre-wash, make sure you do those pre-washes away from a synthetic fabric. Now, as long as you've washed it once, you may choose to use that fabric on your baby even though all the oils haven't been washed out of it yet. It just won't be as absorbent as it will be later. The big thing is that when you put it in the wash, you want your synthetic in a separate wash. So you would be doing 2 washes then. The next lesson that I'll share with you is about storing and how you can make that easier. So when I first started using flats, I would fold them up in the shape that I was going to put them on baby and put them away like this. And this was helpful if somebody else was going to put them on baby for me because they're all ready to go. But in reality, this is what I ended up using, and it works really well for me. So I have a place for change pads, I have a place for my flats, wipes, solution, liners, and then odds and sods covers, that type of thing. And what I really like about this is that once my laundry's dry, I take it right from there and put it in here. So I skip the laundry basket altogether. The next lesson I've learned, or I'll share with you, is getting people to help you and just making that a little bit easier. So one way that people can help you out, and if you're like me, when you're sleep deprived, you really don't want to explain to them how to do this, is by doing a load of dirty cloth diapers for you. So what I would recommend, or what I wish I would have done, is just write out your wash instructions to make it easy for them so they can do that for you. Now, Bunny and I also made a little video on some tips and tricks for helping change diapers for somebody who's not used to using cloth. So you can check that out if you think that would be helpful. And the last lesson I learned is that cloth diapering is totally possible on a newborn. And part of that is because flats do work on newborns. So again, if you want to check out my video on why I love flats, feel free to check that out.